Breaking news we have from college basketball. Two of the biggest names in the class of 2025 are committing to Duke. That's the twin brothers Cameron and Cayden Boozer, the son of the Duke great Carlos Boozer. Our partners at 24/7 Sports ranked Cameron as the #2 overall prospect for 2025 and the #1 power forward. And as for Cayden, no slouch either, considered the #5 point guard in the class and #21 player overall. For even more on this, we now bring in our very own Adam Finkelstein, 24/7 Sports Director of Recruiting. And Adam, is this a shock at all that they're deciding to go to their dad's alma mater?
I mean, it was more contentious than some might think. The interesting thing is the perception was Duke was always the leader because of their dad's history there. But actually, Miami and Florida were really in the mix very strong, especially Miami. This summer, there was a perception that Miami might even lead, which is why I think there's some parallels here between this recruitment and that of Cooper Flagg's. Although, you know, with Flagg, Duke really led early on. The perception was that they led early on with the Boozers, although the reality might not have been the same. Clearly, though, in both scenarios, they had a challenger come in and give a major push, but then Duke was able to surge to the finish line at the 11th hour. They did the same thing with Cooper Flagg a year ago, and now they've done it with the Boozer twins. Both were at the very top of their recruiting board.
Did it seem to be that it was always going to be Cameron and Cayden wherever they went, that they would be going together, or was there a chance maybe for one school to get one and another to get the other?
You know, I know there that tried that, but I don't ever think that got much momentum. These two have been aligned from start to finish, and they have had a record-setting career to date. We're talking about 3 straight Florida State championships, as well as 3 straight Nike grassroots championships. They won the E15 division as freshmen, won the E16 division the next year, and this past summer, they won the Nike EYBL. So we're talking about a really historic record of winning basketball games when you put the twins together. And everyone who was recruiting them came up with the plan, not just for them collectively, but for them individually as well, because despite all the success they've had together, it's very possible that their trajectories could split a bit after next season. Cam is widely expected to be a one-and-done prospect and one of the first picks in the 2026 NBA draft. Cayden is also expected to come in and be an option to play serious minutes right away next season, but his NBA aspirations may be a multi-year process. So I think for Duke, as well as everyone who recruited him, they really had to come up with a plan to show, again, not just how it was going to work collectively for those two as freshmen, but how it could work individually for both as their careers potentially separated after next season.
You look at what Jon Scheyer's been able to build up in his short time of being head coach there and running it and really having so much success on the recruiting trail. When it comes to this 2025 class, are there more names out there you see maybe heading over to the Blue Devils?
Yeah, I think certainly. And to your point, this is really something that began back when Coach K was still the head coach. As soon as they named Jon Scheyer the coach in waiting, he had to prove that the brand of the brotherhood was going to be able to maintain even after Coach K's retirement. And they have done that on the recruiting trail. They did it right away with guys like Kyle Filipowski. They did it again with Cooper Flagg. They did it this year with the Boozer twins. And that's why it's so important to see them get challenged and then to see them respond and still get the top players on their board. This season, I think it's a guarantee they're going to look to further this class. There are going to be implications here. They are recruiting other guards. They're going to need to rebuild this backcourt because it's very possible that everyone leaves after this season, but there are some dominoes at play. Guys like a Cayden Lewis who had been on campus. How does he feel now that Cayden Boozer's in the mix? Is that going to impact his pursuit of him? They're also in the mix for a wing, Dwayne Aristote, who is expected to make his commitment perhaps as early as today. Now, there's some recent intel that Arizona could be surging there, but this is a Duke class that is not done by any way in any way, shape, or form. They've got their top priorities, but there is still work left to be done.
How important was it to Duke to get both of the Boozer twins if you figured that Cooper Flagg will be a one and done and you want to keep that top tier talent, those top big names to keep the program afloat, so to speak?
Well, it's really important for 2 reasons. One, just in between the lines, Cam Boozer is going to step right in for Cooper Flagg. They're not identical types of players, but Cam will start at the 4 spot where Cooper's going to be this year, and he's going to be able to be a focal point from day one. He will also follow that same trajectory as a one-and-done prospect who is perceived to be a very high lottery pick after just one season. The other reason it's important, as I alluded to earlier, the perception was that Duke was always the favorite for the Boozers because Carlos played there. While that may not have necessarily been the reality, perception is reality on the recruiting trail. And so for Duke to lose these guys, there could have been some residual damage. I talked about the importance of maintaining that brotherhood brand, maintaining kind of the power they have on the recruiting trail. And this process was absolutely critical in them being able to do that. So it was really important, and for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah, we will certainly have to wait a little bit of time for them to make their way to college, but we at least know that for now it will be Duke, where we will see the Boozer twins go from South Florida up to North Carolina. Adam Finkelstein, thank you so much for your time talking that breaking news as it comes to the Boozer twins. And you know, always 24/7 Sports is the spot to be for all things college, high school, recruiting, transfer portal, and all that. Find out how your school is doing out there. Tap in with 24/7 Sports.